At 57, Keith Urban dropped something that absolutely floored even his inner circle, not some messy scandal or hidden secret, but a truth so raw and personal it made everyone stop and really listen. For almost 20 years, Keith and Nicole Kidman were the gold standard of Hollywood class, two people who looked like they'd cracked the code: love, success, and a second shot at life. But behind the perfect smiles and bright lights, there was something heavier, a quiet truth Keith had been carrying for years. And when he finally opened up, it wasn't loud or flashy. No drama. No clickbait headlines. Just straight humility, the kind you earn only after going a few brutal rounds with storms fame can't cover up. What he said didn't just explain his past, it flipped everything fans thought they knew about his marriage, his music, and his heart. What Keith shared wasn't about endings, it was about clarity. And once you hear it, you'll never see the story the same way again. Stick around, and if you're into real stories behind the fame, hit subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. 2. The boy who played through fire. Way before the fame, before the Grammys and packed arenas, there was a barefoot kid standing in the ashes of what used to be home. Keith Urban grew up in Queensland, Australia, where the air carried the smell of dust, rain, and second chances. But one night, when he was just 9, a fire ripped through the family house. It didn't just destroy walls and furniture, it stole their sense of safety. The smoke burned itself into his memory, his first real taste of loss, and the moment he learned that silence could hurt worse than noise. His father, Robert Urban, was a big dreamer with a short fuse, a man who loved country music almost as hard as he feared failure. His mother, Marianne, was the steady ground that kept the family from falling apart completely. Between them, Keith learned how love and survival moved to a beat, one side loud, the other gentle. The first time he picked up a guitar, it wasn't about chasing cheers. It was about finding something that wouldn't disappear, something that wouldn't burn away. Music became his safe place, the language he leaned on when words felt like too much. Every note was a quiet act of rebellion, a way to rebuild from the ashes without saying a thing. He didn't know it yet, but that quiet strength, that urge to turn pain into melody, would stick with him for life. Still, that survival mode came with a price, one fame wouldn't fix, only expose. 3. The price of talent. As Keith grew older, his talent did too, and so did the weight that came with it. By his teens, the sun-bleached kid from a small town had turned into a local star in Queensland. Crowds went wild for his guitar solos, bar owners lined up with gigs, and everyone swore he was headed somewhere big. But behind every clap was a shadow, the echo of a boy still desperate to prove he was enough. His father's approval came in sharp flashes, praise 1 second, pressure the next. Every show felt like a test, every slip-up a reminder of how fragile pride really is. The spotlight didn't comfort him, it boxed him in. And when the lights went out, the silence crept back, the same silence he'd feared as a kid. That's when he found another way out, alcohol. At first, it was just a little something to calm his nerves before a show, to shut up the noise in his head. But slowly, that drink stopped being casual, it turned into armor. Music gave him a platform, but it also gave him somewhere to hide. To the world, he looked fearless and unstoppable. Inside, he was pure chaos, panic mixed with longing. Every song sounded like a win, but really, it was survival dressed up as success. He was learning the hard way that talent can open every door, and loneliness can walk right through all of them. The louder he played, the quieter his truth became. 4. Chasing the American dream, and losing himself. By his early 20s, Keith Urban had already crushed the country scene in Australia. But his sights were set bigger, Nashville. The holy land of country music legends. He packed his guitar, his accent, and a whole lot of fear, stepping into a place where his name meant absolutely nothing. Rejection hit fast and cold. "You sound too foreign," producers told him. "Come back when you sound American." So he changed. He studied the sound, the phrasing, the twang, until even he couldn't tell where his real voice stopped and the act began. The crowds cheered, the industry nodded in approval, but Keith felt like a ghost in his own music. Every win felt empty, every hit another mask he had to wear. He landed the career he'd always wanted, but lost the version of himself that started the journey. His diary entries from that time talked about burnout and confusion, a man chasing peace in all the wrong spots. He drank more, laughed less, and faked it harder. Fame wasn't saving him, it was feeding the silence. Behind every standing ovation was a question he couldn't dodge. Who am I when the music stops? And soon, that answer would show up, not through fame, but through fate. Because sometimes, what saves us doesn't look like rescue, it looks like someone seeing us before we see ourselves. Quick pause, if this story's hitting you right in the feels, tap that like button. It helps more people find the truth behind the headlines. 5. When fire met stillness, enter Nicole. It happened low-key, no flashing cameras, no scripted moments. Just two people at the right time, both carrying scars too deep to explain. When Keith Urban met Nicole Kidman in 2005, it wasn't two celebrities colliding, it was two survivors crossing paths. She'd lived through heartbreak under a public microscope. He was still fighting demons no one else could see. But when they talked, it felt like their wounds recognized each other. Keith once said, "She saw me before the world did." To him, Nicole was light, calm, graceful, untouched by the chaos around her. To her, Keith was music, raw, real, and unfiltered. Together, they found something rare, quiet in the middle of the noise. For the first time, Keith believed love could be steady. They talked for hours, not about fame, but about faith, family, and finding peace. When she smiled at him, it felt like finally coming home, after being lost forever. Friends later said it was instant, a connection that made all the past chaos make sense. For Keith, it wasn't just love, it was redemption wearing a human face. But love isn't only healing, it's a mirror. And soon, Keith would be forced to face parts of himself he wasn't ready to deal with. Because even the strongest love can't silence ghosts we never fully buried. 6. The relapse that nearly ended everything. Barely 4 months after tying the knot, the golden couple hit their first real storm. Keith's old demons came back, quietly, but hard. He'd been sober, focused, grateful, but addiction doesn't disappear, it waits. According to The Guardian, 2007, he checked himself into rehab after realizing success only made the temptation louder. Nicole didn't walk away. Instead, she showed a strength no one expected. Friends later revealed she brought together the people closest to him for an intervention, not from anger, but from love. "She saved my life," Keith later admitted, his voice shaking. It wasn't tabloid drama, it was silent heartbreak, followed by even quieter healing. The media circled like vultures, but the real battle was happening behind closed doors, two people choosing to fight instead of run. Nicole became his calm, his North Star, his reason to keep pushing forward. Still, rumors lingered. Reports claimed she told friends she wouldn't let addiction steal another chapter of her life. Their love didn't just survive that fire, it was reforged inside it. But even after the smoke cleared, the scars stayed. He came back stronger, yeah, but also more aware that healing doesn't mean the fight is over. And that survival would soon come, with a cost fame was ready to collect. 7. The return to stage, and the quiet cracks. Keith's comeback was straight-up cinematic. His 2006 album Love, Pain and the Whole Crazy Thing hit platinum, while Nicole stepped back onto the big screen with the golden compass. They smiled for cameras, walked red carpets hand in hand, and looked like living proof that love could survive anything. But behind that shine, burnout was creeping in. Friends and crew noticed it, non-stop tours, endless interviews, barely any rest. A former manager later said, they were in love, but running on empty. Every show demanded energy he didn't have, every smile felt heavier than the last. When he sang Stupid Boy, fans went wild, not realizing they were hearing a confession wrapped in melody. The applause got louder, but their connection grew quieter. Fame had turned into a third partner, needy, jealous, and always watching. Every flight, every film, every tour pushed them a little further apart. To the public, they looked untouchable. But those closest to them saw the silence sneaking back in. Keith once admitted that after every concert, the quiet backstage felt louder than any crowd. That silence was the same one he'd feared as a kid, only now, it lived between two people who once saved each other. Still, from the outside, everything looked perfect. And that illusion wasn't going to last. 8. Love on Borrowed Time. From the outside, Keith and Nicole were still Hollywood's picture of devotion, award shows, red carpets, and shared laughs under flashing cameras. But beneath all that shine, a quiet distance was growing. Fame didn't break them. Exhaustion did. Constant touring, filming, and interviews left them moving in the same orbit, but rarely colliding. Keith once admitted in an interview that they had lived more on planes than in their own home. The smiles were still there, but the rhythm was off. Every hug out in public felt like it had a little ache hiding inside it. Every photo looked kinda too posed, too controlled, like everyone was trying a bit too hard. Then came Blue Ain't Your Color, the track fans swore was low-key aimed at Nicole. It wasn't petty or bitter, it was straight up aching and real. The lyrics talked about love slowly slipping away, about acting like everything's cool when both hearts already know it's not. Keith never said who it was about, but the emotion in his voice said plenty. Rumors started floating again, quiet industry whispers saying maybe they were living side by side, not together. Still, they showed up. Still held hands. Still smiled. That's what real endurance looks like, love that keeps showing up even when the spark starts dying out. But love built on pure resilience can only stretch so much. And when life tested them again, it didn't come as a scandal, it came as grief. Because sometimes, the hardest heartbreak isn't between two people, it's what life takes from both of them. Quick reminder, loving these untold Hollywood stories. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next reveal, there's more on the way. 9. The Night He Broke, and Began Again. In 2015, Keith Urban took a hit that cut deeper than any headline ever could. His father, Robert Urban, the man who first put a guitar in his hands, passed away. The news wrecked him. Still, instead of disappearing, Keith did what he'd always done, he performed the very next night. Fans saw a flawless show. What they didn't see was a man quietly falling apart inside. 4 weeks after, friends said he was present but hollow. The guitars were still there, the crowd still loud, but the spark was gone. That's when Nicole came home, not as the actress, not the public figure, but as the wife who understood silence better than words. She didn't try to fix him, she just stayed. They sat together in the dark, holding hands, barely talking. Out of that silence came a quiet whisper that changed everything, we start again. That moment became the soft rebirth of everything they'd built. Keith leaned back into sobriety with intention, turning grief into clarity. By the 2016 CMA Awards, he was steady, sober, and centered, 10 years clean. It's a daily choice, he told the Tennessean. And she's the reason I keep choosing right. The boy who once played through fire was now learning how to live through stillness. But peace, even when hard-earned, never comes without another test. And the next one wouldn't come from tragedy, it would come from time itself. 10. The Calm Years and the Cost of Holding On. By 2016, the world saw a different Keith Urban, grounded, steady, finally at peace. His albums Ripcord and Graffiti You topped charts, while Nicole earned praise for Big Little Lies and Being the Ricardos. From the outside, they looked balanced, like they'd cracked the code between fame and family. Interviews painted them as Hollywood's miracle couple, two creatives who figured out how to stay when most people bail. Behind the scenes, that balance came with a price. Peace took discipline. Sobriety took non-stop awareness. Fame demanded constant presence. It was a non-stop juggle, parents, partners, public figures, all at once. Our marriage isn't 50-50, Nicole told Vanity Fair in 2020. It's 60-40, and we take turns being 60. That hit fans hard because it sounded honest and exhausting. Keith became a mentor to younger artists, guiding them through the same chaos he'd survived. Nicole focused on producing projects that gave women second chances in Hollywood. They turned pain into purpose. But even the strongest hearts get tired. By 2023, tiny shifts started showing: more solo red carpets, different travel schedules, fewer joint interviews. Nothing explosive, just life quietly changing lanes. Their story was never about perfection, it was about endurance. Still, time tests what fame never can. And soon, the whispers came back, not with drama, but with curiosity. What happens when two people who once saved each other start walking different roads again? 11. The whispers return, and the final confession. By 2025, fans caught the small signs first: Keith showing up alone, Nicole skipping premieres, short interviews hinting at change without saying it out loud. Then came Lanterns, Keith stripped back, emotional new song. The lyrics spoke about gratitude, closure, and a love that doesn't disappear, it just changes form. According to People magazine, Keith and Nicole had quietly signed a parenting plan weeks before filing for divorce, Keith on August 29th, Nicole on September 6th, with the paperwork officially filed on September 30th in Nashville. The process was described as calm and intentional, showing their shared commitment to co-parenting their daughters with respect and privacy. The news was confirmed publicly: the couple had separated after 19 years of marriage. Reports stressed there was no drama, no public mess, just mutual respect, a rare, graceful ending to one of Hollywood's most admired marriages. When Keith finally spoke, his words matched the moment perfectly. It wasn't a breakup, he said quietly. It was an awakening, realizing that love doesn't have to end to evolve. He called Nicole his mirror, his anchor, and the person who taught him what forgiveness really is. There was no anger in his voice, just peace. The kind that comes from living, loving, and surviving together under impossible pressure. To the world, it looked like an ending. To Keith, it was another beginning, proof that love can change shape and still be real. The confession shocked people not because it was dramatic, but because it was rare. A love story ending without bitterness, a separation wrapped in gratitude. And that's what made it beautiful. 12. Legacy of love, what remains? In the end, Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman didn't leave behind a scandal, they left behind a lesson. 19 years, 2 daughters, and a love story that reminded the world of something people forget: endings don't always mean failure. Sometimes, they are just a quieter kind of win. Their legacy isn't only in hit songs or award-winning films, it's in choosing grace over gossip, and understanding over resentment. They showed that real strength isn't clinging forever, but knowing when love needs to evolve. Their daughters, Sunday and Faith, grew up watching two people who never stopped respecting each other, even when life pulled them in different directions. Keith once said peace isn't found in perfection, it's found in presence. And in Lanterns, you hear it, the calm after decades of chaos, the acceptance after years of trying to be everything at once. Nicole called it the season of stillness, and maybe that's what they both reached, not an ending, but clarity. Fans still argue whether their story is finished or just turning a page, but one thing's clear: they turned pain into purpose, and silence into song. When Keith stood under the lights at 57, voice steady and heart wide open, he wasn't confessing loss. He was confessing gratitude. Because love, in every form, saved him. And that, not fame, not money, became his greatest legacy. If this story hit you, don't just scroll, hit subscribe and stay with us for more real stories behind the spotlight. Because every truth has another side, and you won't want to miss what's next.